Season 2 of the Charmed Reboot has officially started, and I'm here to give you the skinny on Episode 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Turnout. I am your host, Eloy. Don't forget to check out usaaudiences.com for special event and movie screening invites. So it wasn't initially planned, but I have actually made quite a few videos for The Turnout that are about the reboot of Charmed. And I've had the opportunity to engage with a number of people who either love the reboot or hate the reboot. Very few people fall in between. It's kind of an interesting phenomena here. But I thought that honestly, after going into the second season, I did some research. I did a whole video about season 2 predictions, and it sounded like they were maybe gonna go in a different direction. So I was pretty excited to watch the second season of Charmed. Of course, then my life went crazy and I haven't been able to watch it until now. So I'm gonna be doing a video a week. It's gonna be a review of that week's episode of Charmed. I have a few weeks to make up for, so watch out for those kind of catch-up videos that I have coming. And I'm not gonna be watching the episode after the one that I'm reviewing, so try to keep the spoilers away from the comments all that much. I'm really gonna try and review each episode as it stands on its own and as it is part of a continuation, and not just like trying to do a ton of episodes all at once, because I really do feel that each of these is going to have its own effect. And if this is something that you're interested in, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, so you always know when The Turnout puts out a new video. We're still gonna be doing our normal reviews and everything, but we're also throwing in some Charmed Reboot reviews. I love the show, so this isn't really any skin off my teeth here. So jumping into the review for the first episode of the second season of Charmed. I would say overall, loved it. I had heard a lot about them wanting to take it in a new direction, and it was gonna be less, you know, sitting around being sisters and let's see what we can do. It was gonna be less that and more intrigue, more fighting with the supernatural as a thing. I had also heard rumors that they were going to be removing the sisters' powers. So that was an interesting thing. What I went into it though was like, okay, I heard that rumor and I'm like, it's not about what they're gonna do, because I already heard so many people saying, oh my god, they're just gonna take away the powers, it's not gonna be Charmed anymore, why do they even bother? And it's like, okay, I mean, it's still Charmed, so it's okay. There were episodes of Charmed where they didn't have their powers, just so you know, or they had different powers, or they swapped powers. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I went into this like, okay, this is gonna be an interesting, it's not what they're doing, it's how they do it. And that's how I feel about most storytelling in general. There are a million stories about a young kid who thinks he's a hero and then gets dissuaded, and then an old gentleman comes and helps him and gets him over the hump, and then he becomes a hero in the end. And it's not about the story, it's about how it's executed. And I have to say that I think this first episode was executed. It was interesting because there was a balance there. There was a little bit of some things that I'm like, really? And then a few things that I'm like, okay, I can see what you guys are doing here. Oh, and spoiler alert, because I am going to be talking about some big things that happen in the episode, so don't come into this if you haven't watched it and you want to keep that a secret. It does start off with the sisters kind of having a party. You know that obviously they're the last of the authority that's in town, so all of the supernatural creatures are coming to them for help. They're not the last witches, there are lots of witches, but the council is gone, and that's an important detail. Now you have Mel, who's just diving into this, like, we're the ones in charge, this is actually pretty cool, and we can make some structural changes to the way that things work. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. Then you have Maggie, who's like, I don't know, I think that we dealt with a lot last season. Maybe we can just have some fun. And then you have Macy, who got a job offer, and she's like, I think I might take it. I think you guys probably have this down. And of course, all of that is interrupted by an assassin coming in and trying to kill them. Harry pops up and actually holds the killer back, and they get away. But not before the Book of Shadows is destroyed, which opens a portal, and that's how they get away, to this weird kind of safe zone, kind of headquarters, operating center kind of place. And it's odd. I'm just gonna say that this is one of the things that I was like, I don't know about this. This is the part that I was like, okay. So they get to this room that has like all this like high tech stuff, and they hear on the thing that says like your orders have been stripped, and I'm like, okay, I get it. They're in like Witch-Ness Protection, so their powers have been removed, because now they actually have the choice of just leaving it all behind them. And I'm like, okay, that's actually a pretty clever way to handle it. And I like that because it's kind of like this built-in thing, and it's for their protection. But obviously, it's a bad thing because they find out that the high-tech stuff, and there's a map, and it's got all these little dots, and all of those are the witches that are left alive. And now there's a war against the witches, who they are actually not witches anymore, and witch hunters. So all of that was pretty interesting, and the approach to it was well done. Except I'm like, why would it be all this high-tech stuff? Why wouldn't it be like an old scroll on the wall? It just seems like they made the impression that people hadn't been there for a while. And to have it be all like high-tech and stuff, it really felt off. That said, I loved the fact that Macy ended up keeping her demonic powers. I thought that was pretty. I was like, all their witch powers were taken away, so they're no longer the power of 3, the charmed ones, but she still retained her part demon part, so she was like throwing flame and stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting. When they were in the safe zone though, that was also a weird thing because the safe zone seemed like it was a bunch of people who knew about witches, but they weren't witches anymore, but they were all kind of just talking in like riddles, and I don't know, it was weird. They did obviously introduce, you can tell that a couple of the new characters are going to be there. There was the boxer guy, and then there was the girl who was in the shop. Like, you have a couple of characters that you're like, okay, these are going to be important characters going forward. So far, they didn't spend a whole lot of time on that, so I was like, okay, all right, I'm pretty good. Then they get back to their home. Now they have a home that is invisible, but they know where it is. It's also connected to their soul. And it's weird because connected to their soul tells me, like, does that mean that they could go anywhere and the house will follow them? I guess we'll have to see what happens with that. At the end, Harry flashes back to where he was holding off the assassin and where the assassin killed him. And you see that the assassin who killed him was actually him. And I love that. It seems like they're going to be building in some time travel here. And I've always been a fan of time travel and different ways to approach it. It didn't seem like the Harry that still existed was the one who killed him. It seemed like he really was the one who died and now is all of a sudden back. But I already knew that he was a white lighter because at the beginning when he was chasing them down and trying to kill the charmed ones, he was teleporting around, and they used the same white lighter animation. So I kind of already knew that it was a white lighter of some sort, but I didn't know specifically that it was Harry. Thought that was a pretty interesting twist. Also, the fact that Harry is the last white lighter, wow, that's a big deal. He is the very last white lighter, because when the council died, all of the white lighters that were attached to the council, they all died, they all got sent, but because in the first season he had detached himself from the council and he was no longer working for them, then that means that he's the only one that's still alive. That is a little sketchy though. You would think that there were at least a few other white lighters that were able to detach their souls from the council too. I don't know. That seems a little off. I think they're probably going to run into at least one other somewhere along the line. But I thought that the first episode of this new season, it had a much darker tone, and they sliced off the nice happy-go-lucky stuff, and they're like, no, this is gonna be dark, let's do this. They were way more like dead bodies, but they weren't like, because there were a lot of dead bodies in first season, but they seemed like they were staged to be a little bit more horrific. So I thought that was an interesting touch. And now they have these 3 charmed ones who are no longer the charmed ones. Only one of them has pyrokinesis, her demonic powers, and now they are the only ones who know where the remaining witches are, and now they're going to go on a crusade of helping those witches and trying to make sure that those witches don't die, and they don't even know that trouble's coming for them. So that's kind of interesting. I can't wait to see the rest of the season. And again, I know that there are a lot of people who are already hating on the season, but I dig it. So there were, like I said, a couple of hiccups. I think that some of the high-tech stuff is a little off. I think that some of the scenes in the safe place itself, where they were a little awkward, but they did their job of introducing these new characters, I guess. But the interaction between the sisters was good. The interactions with Harry was good. I love the fights that they've had so far. They've, like, you can tell that they are having to work to win a fight right now because they have no powers. They don't have, you know, the ability to just trounce somebody in a second. So yeah, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to watch episode 2. Let's go into the comments, and I want to talk about the first episode, and the review of the second episode will be out soon, but I'm very interested as to what you guys are thinking about all of this craziness in the first episode. And if you did like this review and want to come and watch more, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. And otherwise, I've been your host, Eloy. This has been The Turnout. Thanks for showing up.